worries. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll get well soon.
We should be live in a
Prayers.
second.
Sending them prayers.
Appreciate it. Should be live. I think we should be live now. I think.
Yep. I'm just waiting for the tag or just waiting to see if it comes up on Facebook. Give me a moment. Yes, we have Adrian that's joined us. There's 4 people on now, so that's great. We're live.
All right, go ahead, and I'll come back and I'll show the charts.
No problem. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Crypto Azzy, Aking, Risen. Just going to wait a few more moments while you guys roll in. I'm just seeing the messages. In fact, good morning, Adrian. Great rising. Hope all is well. Ready to get this work. Yes. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. I do have plenty of news, and I'll get straight into it. And let's start with Steve Wozniak, the co-creator of Apple, the co-founder of Apple. So he came out with an interesting comment, guys. I know there's been a lot of comparisons with cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology with the advent of the internet age. So it's been likened in terms of its development and where we are in the technology adoption cycle. So he's made previous comments about cryptocurrencies, but he's actually come out now and stated that he believes right now where we are, cryptocurrencies and blockchain reminds him of the early days of the internet. So this is an event he attended in Barcelona. Actually, it was at a MasterCard's event of all places. And it was called Connecting Tomorrow, which is snazzy, right? So he was being interviewed and he compared the current stage of the development of crypto and blockchain with the early days of internet. Now, this is the interesting part that got me, okay? Because I remember I spoke on this I think for last couple of weeks, but I think I spoke on Ripple last week and spoke about the danger of working with governments. So here's what he said. He thinks that cryptos will be, whether we like it or not, somehow, some way, some form, that it will be regulated by governments. You know why? Because they're seeking to tax their citizens. That's exactly what he said. And we have been going on and on, like we've been saying, the governments are not going to take this lying down. They know how powerful this is. And if you can't beat them, you join them and find a way to control them somehow, or at least increase influence. So the real, man, this is exactly what we're talking about. Money talks. And they want both the power, the control, and the money, and the ability to generate the wealth and the cycle, cycle of how wealth gets distributed, because there's not just economical power, there's political power with that. So the fact that Steve Wozniak said this is quite important. I mean, there has been other leaders that have come out to support the development of blockchain, but they have also rung the bell in terms of concerns, especially the true followers of cryptos and blockchain technology. They have stated that that they're concerned that big money coming into the space and governments coming into the space is actually not what it seems. It may have a positive effect on the price at some point, but is that really a price to pay for what's about to happen? Is that really worth it? So it's interesting he mentioned that, and also he said that it's not going to go very fast. So where we are right now, even though it's been over 10, it's coming up to 10 years since actually it's over 10 years, 2008. And now it's 2000. Time flies, by the way. I can't believe it's the 1st of October today, guys. I had to look at my calendar twice. I'm like, are you sure it's not 1st of September? So yeah, It's been a decade. Bitcoin is 10 years old, and cryptos, blockchain, have been coming up together. So he did say at the time, what was interesting about it is the internet development at that point, it wasn't going very fast. And you know what was interesting is that people did the apps that we take for granted today. I mean, pick up your phone. I'm sure at some point during the day you're going to use an app to find your local store, or find yourself an Uber or bus or whatever it is that you use your apps for, calculate something, check up on something. Those days, the early days, the dial-up days, the annoying, the sounds that it made, and the time it took to download. If we were lucky, we would get like we'd be very lucky if we got a complete website. There'd be like HTML lines and stuff that looked like the skeletons of the website. It took ages to, because we didn't have enough bandwidth. We didn't have fiber optics at that time. It was dial-up. It was slow and painful. It was the days of it wasn't Google, was it? It was Excite, it was Yahoo search, and so on. Ask Jeeves. So this guy is more than qualified, more than experienced to look at the comparisons between the internet boom and with this technology, with blockchain and cryptos. So at the time, even back then in the 90s, developers were talking about applications. They were talking about apps that would let you book your airline, make dinner reservations, anything that we take for granted now. They were looking at it as if, with stars in their eyes, and a great hope, like one day we're going to do this. And other guys would be like, whoa, that'd be so cool, man. So, and that we take for granted. We just don't even think about it, right? And that's how technology progresses. At one point, it's like, it's so futuristic, it's so space age, and almost seeming impossible, until it's actually done and adopted. And people now, everyone from your friend to your grandma's, using new technology. And the majority of the world now use smartphones. See the Apple or what do you call it, iPhone or Samsung or Android brands. So yeah, this is why it's really powerful that he mentions that, that he said, but all these internet promises became part of our life eventually. So it makes you think, like, if you step back and look at the evolution of and how certain disruptive technologies came into the space, it was never a smooth journey. Never a smooth journey. There was always ups and downs. I mean, the fact that we've been seeing scams and hacks and all sorts. At the time, if you look at different technologies, they had crashes, they had all sorts of bugs, they had different things the different challenges at the time. It was really like, it was terrible for them because they'd spent hours, if not days, if not weeks, just coding one little thing, and that's messed up. They have to start again. But because they persevered on and on. And that expression, I think it was the inventor of the light bulb that said he found 10,000 ways before he actually invented it and was successful. He found 10,000 ways of not 10,000 ways of not doing it right, or something like that. He made he made a point to say, without making those 10,000 mistakes or finding ways that this didn't work, then you wouldn't even get to the point, at that point, where you'd be able to invent or come through to the solution. So part of, in fact, it's part of life, isn't it? We have to go through struggles, issues, problems. We have to be on our craft again and again and again. We have to fail fast, fail forward, fail fast. The faster we fail, the quicker we get to the result. So that type of mindset is what drove a lot of these innovations. And that's why with major companies like Google, Apple, even I was reading something about Fidelity as well. They're coming into the crypto space, and that they have they have specifically a department. They have a department where they encourage their employees to fail as much as they want, like try whatever project, whatever ideas, no limits to their imagination. They give them the resources, they think up of something, and from those mistakes, amazing ideas came through, and got patented and made them money and successful in many ways. So that's, and actually it ended up, I think with 3M as well, they ended up making a mistake, and they created the sticky note. So you know, the bright yellow sticky note that we take for granted now, that was a mistake, guys. That was a mistake. So you know, and where would we be without our sticky notes, right? So on the fridge, and you know, on our cars or whatever, in our office. So the point of this is that he said with cryptos and blockchain technology, this has a lot of similarities with the journey of the internet age, and that eventually, this, you know, it will go through the motions, and it will adjust and become part of our life. We will at some point accept it. So here's what he said that really also interested me as well, that kind of, I think I spoke on this as well. He said he considered cryptocurrencies which lack any type of centralized control. Remember, I was talking about Ripple last week, which lack any type of centralized control, and not just Ripple, by the way, but other coins that have any centralized features. So he said any coins which lack any type of centralized control as a type of freedom, as a type of freedom. Now that's really important, because we were talking about the ethos of decentralization of cryptos, of blockchain. The whole point was to spread power, and to also amongst a larger amount of networks, and that we also, it helps with security, but also it's to do with reevaluating, redefining what value means between each other. So there's no third party, there's no central authority, third party middleman to dictate and take a cut from it and eat, you know, make a living from it. They're going to have to find a brand new way to eat. But a lot of the problems that we have, like the fact that there's not enough transparency, there's corruption, that costs are too high, whether it's through transaction fees or some other, like the markup is too high. A lot of this is because of the middleman, or the chain in between. So the buy, if we can cut out and get to, like, from A to B, or from buyer to seller, and have you know, a mechanism or technology that replaces that middleman, and it gives us a lot more advantages than having a traditional human middleman, or organizations, centralized organizations with undue power, because they tend to, if from what we've seen with history as well, they don't tend to give away their power without a fight. So this is, they literally have to be forced through innovation, through disruptive technology, through revolutions, through, you know, people resisting society, demanding change, and change, as we know, is inevitable. So there's always going to be this pushback. There's always going to be people, because these institutions are made from people as well. People are creatures of habit. People like being comfortable, even at the highest levels. People like the status quo and being comfortable, and they're afraid if advancements come through and it threatens their livelihood, or imagine you've studied for how decade, perhaps you've dedicated tens of several years, like 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, whatever, even over a decade, to a particular profession, and suddenly this technology comes in and threatens your way of life. How would you feel, right? And so there's this real pushback going on. But we know technology, by and far, it's helped to allow us to get efficiencies and a level of transparency and power back from traditional power players, traditional structures and systems. So again, the fact that he acknowledges a type of freedom, and it has to lack any type of centralized control, that is significant, I think. And but he did say this as well, that the freedoms, they will, when he says they, he's talking about governments, he's talking about the big boys, big companies, centralized institutions. They will always get taken away. He's stating freedoms, and he said, I love it, I want it, I want that world to exist, but there will be obstacles, there will be obstacles. And however, on the other flip side, he actually said, which I found kind of strange, he found cryptocurrencies was a little bit too anonymous, and by that he meant that it was too difficult to track down who's doing what transaction. And a part of how we live and exist is knowing what transactions there are. So the government can, guess what, can tax us. So because governments will, even if we, the people, demand for government to reduce their power and stay out of our business, like to minimize it and just give us the bare minimum, right? Governments, in the way they set up their structure, they're always going to find a way, using their enormous power and resources, to find a way to and tools at the moment, obviously, that they're working on artificial intelligence and other developments to be able to keep track of all their citizens. Some ways, if they don't catch up with us now, they'll catch up with us later. So they're always saying, be upfront, because we're going to catch up to you no matter what. Time will, regardless how much time passes. So he stated that governments are going to regulate that no matter what. No matter what happens, some way, shape, or form, governments will find a way to track us and get their money, get their slice. It's all about, like I said, power, money, and control, and tax. As a society moves and has these paradigm shifts, and it's not just the culture that will change, but how there's a real, what can I say? It's not just, everything is interlinked. So the economic aspect, the political aspect, social aspect, the more interconnected we are, a lot of this, there will be overlapping layers. So one cannot happen without affecting another. So this is why it's really important to be informed of what they're planning to do. And there are clues that with their actions. And so this is why we have to, like, obviously, if you compare your power against the government's power or major multinationals and corporations, they beat us hands down. But if we do have a group of people that are clued up and they are educated and they stay informed and they keep a healthy distance and a critical mind, and always, that's the thing that they're scared of, is despite their emphasis on saying education is important, if you look at where they're spending their allocated budget, if you look at where they're spending the taxpayers' money, they're not paying teachers well. They're not paying the right people that need to be incentivized to educate our children and to have a higher quality of education. If they really cared, then they would have allocated resources, time, money, effort there. But instead, we're seeing governments, and I know this is controversial, but some people would say in this day and age, we do need to have our defense spending. But it doesn't explain why, if you look at how they're allocating budget, they're using that mostly to incentivize the wrong parties and the wrong areas, and more importantly, they're not, the citizens keep putting them into power expecting something different, and these promises, but because there isn't a higher level, perhaps and that will change perhaps with blockchain technology, because there are jurisdictions now where they've trialed out voting on the blockchain, so it gives you more transparency and so on. And so in the future, at some point, perhaps we'll get to a level where it would be extremely hard to be corrupt, because you have all these checks and balances that is underpinned by the blockchain technology. And that is extremely powerful, because you're literally holding the people you've elected to account. So in terms of government taxes, in terms of crypto, and where that's going, and how these big stakeholders are monitoring it, these government agencies are monitoring it. That you see them quoting, they say it's for security purposes, to reduce or minimize terrorism finance, and what do you call it, anti-money laundering as well. Money laundering, and they take an anti-money laundering measures, and some other issues and challenges that they're currently tackling in the name of protecting the citizen or the investor. The whole point of this space is for us to be taking accountability of ourselves and responsibility of our financial destiny, of our, in fact, our destiny overall. And for us to determine what value is between each other. And they want to control that. They want a piece of that. They're not happy for us to just be, where we are right now. They want to come into the space. And when they say regulate, of course, they're going to show us ways that they're going to protect us. But they're also going to make sure we don't get too far off from their leash, from the leash that they've got us around our neck. So that's really like, it's a way to monitor us, and that could be used for any reason. There's the official reason, and then there's really another underlying reason. So that's why these checks and balances are so important, because essentially these are checks and balances on human condition. So because we've seen throughout history what's happened when you have too much, when there's no term limit. So that's why I love this technology, because there's actually not only incentives to have a correct behavior in the market, to incentivize certain actions to occur, but the transparency, that is scary. If you're doing something in the dark, you don't want too much transparency. You want enough to show, to prove to whoever that, okay, I'm doing this, but really they're doing other things. There's layers to it. And we know this by how the evidence is all around us, because of we wouldn't be experiencing so many major chronic problems and the inequality. There would be no inequality if they actually did what they said they will to help us. So that's why there is a real need for alternative systems, and any technology, the more disruptive, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Because it speeds things up, and it speeds the development up, speeds the adoption up. So that's really key that he said that. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs will go down in history as pioneers, as legends. Like, I don't know how many of you guys have iPhones, iPads, even Androids, Samsungs, because of the journey that two people have decided to do. They've changed how we communicate, literally how we communicate with each other. And the reason why I say Samsung as well and Android is because Apple and Samsung are always, as the main rivals, they're always outdoing each other. And I believe competition is healthy, but sometimes they can get carried away too. But that's really important. You can't have a monopoly. You always have to have some sort of competition, some sort of other people to try and hold you account or point out your failures or mistakes in a constructive way, so you then can take those lessons and get better. Because if you were just a monopoly and no one can tell you, and you just did what you did, there tends to be this, there's a tendency for, just with human nature, for people to just allow that power to corrupt them. So that centralized approach in this space is quite, in my opinion, it's quite worrying. It's quite concerning, because I see how the patterns that we're experiencing in the normal everyday world, in the matrix, is now coming into play in this, when we're supposed to be getting away from that. So and it's messy. There's no clear answer. Like he also said, this is going to take time to figure out and work out, that there will be obstacles. So again, this is something that you have to embrace as an investor, as an innovator, pioneer, early mover. That is part of the mindset that you have to have. So I'm glad that he spoke on that, because he does have power and influence. But he also mentioned, without mincing his words, that the governments do want to tax us. They do want a piece of that profit. There's no space on earth that we can get away for long without having to pay our taxes or our due. So so that's that. And then what happened in the UN? Malta's Prime Minister, Joseph Muscat. I don't know how many of you guys follow the developments in regards to crypto-friendly countries. Malta is one of them. Switzerland is one. Japan is one. Pockets of European countries and jurisdictions like Gibraltar, which is a British territory, you have them, and even Bermuda, you have some in the Caribbean as well. They're all the ones that want to be a pioneer. They're literally coming out right now, or they have been for a number of years, researching this, developing this, and stating now, and taking some action towards it, that they're going to introduce this into their bills, into their laws. And so what Malta's Prime Minister said, that crypto is the inevitable future of money. Inevitable future of money. Now, that's a really strong statement to make for a prime minister, for a leader of a country. Even though it's an island, it may not have as much power as the UN, or the USA, or European Union, and it is part of the European Union, by the way. But it sees an opportunity to not only just have what do you call it? Just tip it's not tipping its toe. What's the word? Hang on. Dipping its toe in the water. They're deep diving. They're actually going all in, right? So so he said that it's because he believes that blockchain can make the process more and it will help make the society more transparent and equitable. Now, how often do you hear that from any president or prime minister? You'd think that they'd be scared and be like, no, I want to keep the power to myself. But with his people, and certainly with visitors and investors, he's embraced this technology with open arms. And he made this speech to the General Assembly last Thursday, and he made a very, very powerful case. So he talked about the fact that it's transformative. We keep hearing that word again. The political impact of it as well, these disruptive technology, and that he's noticed this trend right now, that the new digital economy coming in with a new state is creating a new digital state, a digital nation or digital city, and that they are preparing to create a future-proof society, a future-proof society. Man, those words are really powerful, because you identify what's happening around you, and in terms of what's going on globally. They're seeing it in relation to they're an island, right? They in traditional, if you compare the metrics with other countries, superpowers, they are pretty much like pretty low down on the list, right? But with technology, it allows them to go up that list. It allows to help level the playing. Well, it may never be a level playing field, but it allows them to be a bit more mobile. It allows them to be a bit more powerful, have more influence, have more control over their destiny, and it makes it a lot more, a bit more fairer. And so this is a journey, so then they know it's not going to be done overnight. But the fact that they're doing this, they're taking a the first mover advantage, they're fully aware of, and they want to be going down in history as one of the first countries that took advantage of this technology, took the risks as well. Even if everything crashed, even if everything cryptos disappeared or whatever, they want to be the first one to go all full steam, all steam full steam ahead. Sorry guys, full steam ahead, and take the initiative with this, because it does tend to, I mean, they say it rewards the brave, right? So that's what he said, and that was quite very important as well. He said it provides more transparency, because it also help filters good businesses from bad businesses as well. And that he specifically is talking about distributed ledger technology, of which blockchain is a part, like a one part of it. And so that's why they in Malta they introduced 3 bills regarding to that. But he did mention this will have a transformative effect on political, on corporate systems, economic systems, and so on, and that it will solve decades-old problems that they specifically have in Malta, but they can see how this on a global level is quite important as well. And so that's why they launched themselves as a blockchain island, and that they made history by becoming the first jurisdiction, the first area worldwide to regulate the technology, and have to open other crypto companies and projects with open arms, whereas in America they're facing all sorts of issues, you know, especially with ICOs and so on. But in Malta they literally want to open all, like no restrictions, and just come in and allow innovation to flourish, allow these brilliant minds to set the anchor there and make it their base, and that is quite powerful. And so you know, and also he said that the DLT, the technology itself, they're not going to be deprived of their legitimate property because of compromised data, because with old-fashioned ways, there's some people's cases get lost in the system, or some mistakes happen which could be prevented. And so for the data to be, it won't be compromised, it will be immutable, it can't be changed or tampered with. There's also transparency, which increases trust. And more importantly, he stated to be accountable to the shareholders. So, and here's what he said that was really fundamental. And I think that he's putting up like a challenge, a gauntlet down to the rest of the governments worldwide, because he said the key here in terms of embracing this is to move from hoarding information on their citizens to regulating an environment where citizens can actually trust. They can be trusted to handle their own data. And here's why that was powerful, because it's not just citizens being given that trust, or taking that trust, having that trust and handling their own data. It's also the trust with handling our own money. And if we know and we get better at handling our own money, why do we need the banks? Why do we need governments? Well, you know, their role will be reduced because of this technology, because we no longer have to deal with the middleman. It could be me and you, regardless of wherever we are, and have that trustless system and censorship resistant system in place. So no one, no government, no jurisdiction, nothing No one can tell us what to do with our money and what our time and our data. I think that is extremely powerful. That's the freedoms. That's some of the freedoms that Steve Wozniak had mentioned, Wozniak has mentioned, and other leaders have mentioned, and that they're not too afraid if they don't have any particular vested interest, because they'll say something because it's in their interest, and they'll say something else if it's not. So so yeah, this is really powerful stuff. And and also he gave an example as well with healthcare. Obviously everyone wants to be healthy, and one of the things that we definitely would want is our health records, our medical records, to be as secure as possible. Can you imagine if there's, you know, there's hackers everywhere. Is bad enough that we're seeing hackers in crypto or whatever, but imagine where we put everything online and on systems and so on, and the hackers are able to get a hold of any information of our lives, including our medical records, and perhaps change them. And that's why it's, and as a result, people could literally become ill and die because, you know, a doctor or nurse had administered the wrong medicine, and they looked at the system, the current system that they have, and they put trust in that. That's why blockchain technology, because it's immutable, which means it can't change. Data once entered into the system cannot be changed. It's tamper proof. Imagine with your medical records kept safe, you know, obviously with the way the government is, we don't know if certain medical records are kept in paper or if everything is digitalized, but to have that new layer of security with the blockchain, meaning that no one can change it apart from your doctor. Like someone has to have authority, and even with them, they have to, the blockchain will you can see where entry, if something has to be changed, perhaps on the, I'm talking about private blockchains here, perhaps they could be adjusted to, so only doctors, only people with certain authority is allowed to update and amend that, and that there has to be witnesses, multi-signatories as well, and so on. So this technology allows us to be very flexible, have a way to have the security, but also have the transparency. So the fact that he said this technology would mean patients would have real ownership of their medical records, and that it would make that more robust and more efficient. Think of the savings, the cost savings as well. And if they have pen and paper, if they have medical records on paper, they, in my opinion, that shouldn't even exist anymore. Like that should be one of the first things that they should have done, is digitalize everything, because in an event of a fire, if there's only one copy of that, that's it, it's gone. And if they don't have a backup elsewhere, that they're, you know, it's a messy situation. So, and even the way we're going, even with how we live our lives, we need to have that extra security and that convenience, and the, you know, cost savings as well, and the environmental factor of still using paper and so on, when we have you know, storage that on a digital format. And so that's why it's really key. He spoke on this, and that it's literally revolutionary in terms of how this will affect all aspects of our lives. So he said, of course, there will be challenges, and that in terms of transitioning the population to this technology and educating them about it, that's going to take time. But here's what he said, that was another key thing that struck me, that solutions do not come by closing doors. Solutions do not come by closing doors. He was dropping bars, you know. He was dropping bars. I'm like, wow, damn. Is he a prime minister? Is he a philosopher? Or like, I was just like really okay, that part speaks to the the part of me where I'm optimistic about things. I do believe you have to have an open mind and, you know, explore possibilities. So that is so true. And even this is backed up by science, is backed up by facts, backed up by historical records as well. And so this is and he said what he's found as well is that certain politicians may be using this as a tactic, that it may be appealing as a short-term strategy to politicians who say blockchain will never work, or it's a scam, or cryptos are scam, or whatever. You really have to look at why they're saying that, which base are they playing to, and so on. And to resist technological change would be myopic, as those, and this is the part that I laughed because it's so true, as those advocating for horse carts not to be replaced by automobiles. Remember, at one point in history, people were like laughing at horses and cars, and then it became accepted. And then they laughed at Henry Ford, in regards to creating his automobile. They laughed at him, and now everyone's driving automobiles. They're driving cars, and planes as well. They said it never go off the ground. It did, right? So this is really important. To resist technological change would be myopic. So again, it's not to say that something's going to definitely work out, or something is going to come out of it, but he's saying don't ignore the signs, like embrace the possibilities, is instead of just being just stuck where you are and accepting the reality as it is, and saying that's it, this is the only thing you can do. Always look forward, because change is inevitable. And with change and ideas and people working constantly, like while we're talking, while you're watching me, there's developers, there's programmers, there's engineers, there's scientists, there's all types of enormously smart, dedicated people that have that have put they've dedicated their lives to solving problems, humanity's problems. And so if they give up, if they don't do anything, and we are the average Joe, or the investors that don't have power and money like the elite, then what hope do we have? Because someone has to dream, someone has to take that first move. That someone had, like, if you think of all the technologies that we have, someone had to think of it, dream it, imagine it. Someone had to have the courage to get the things together and crack on it and do whatever it can take, and it finally worked. Goodness knows what kind of obstacles they had to go through, but that's what makes stories so powerful, because change, attaining success is a byproduct of what you did anyway, because you believed in it. So that's why it's really important to have this mindset, and that's why he's encouraging. It's a calls to arms, not just for Maltese people, not only for his citizen. He's speaking to the crypto community. He's speaking to the blockchain community. He's speaking to anyone with an open mind. He's speaking to people that have no idea about crypto and blockchain, but they're doing something else and they're wondering what this space is about. He's speaking to anyone that's open-minded, and even those that reject him or resist change. He's even speaking to them, because they also need to play their role, right? We'll always have naysayers. We'll always have people that say that's never going to work, and it ends up being done. So you can't change that. So that's why you have to go forward regardless. And eventually those people will be celebrated at the end of it all. So that's really important. And in Malta as well, we obviously heard the news in regards to Binance previously moving there, OKX exchange, and BitPay, and others that are coming in to work with Malta's stock exchange. So that's why him taking that leadership position on a global level, saying welcome to Malta, it's not just for the money aspect or the advantages that he will get for his country. He's actually he's saying to the world, like, I'm putting you on notice. We're going to be going down in history as one of the first nations to do this. And in fact, if you're attracting all the major players or the first movers into that, that's quite powerful. That means you have that political, you have that capital, you have that goodwill, and that advantage is priceless in certain things. And he's thinking long term to how Malta can be positioned. And so same with Switzerland. they're thinking about where they'll be positioned in the space with this technology, and so on, and Japan as well. So very really important that he mentioned that, and he's speaking up, because Malta is not a powerful country by any means, any other metrics, but with this technology, he certainly wants Malta to be on, remembered for that. So I give him all credit for that as well. And also Bermuda, as I mentioned, they're looking to provide regulatory certainty with their legislation. What would be interesting is that they will go via the ICO route. So they'll allow ICOs under certain conditions. That's quite important, because Bermuda and USA is very, there's close proximity with that. So you can have some crypto, crypto companies and exchanges move from the States, where they're not allowed to do certain ICOs, and move to Bermuda, and so on. Or citizens would be registered in Bermuda, so to participate in ICOs and so on. Also with the EU, they're proposing standards for the ICOs that would allow token cell projects to operate across the entire EU, the economic zone that we have. So that's important as well. So, and another development that was interesting, speaking of regulations and governments, is Ripple. So Ripple has decided to team up, bring a coalition of other like crypto companies and startups to lobby lawmakers and financial regulators in DC, in Washington. And I did remember, guys, I spoke about Ripple before and my concerns with that. And now, like, this is another development that sort of confirms what I was thinking as well. And that they're paying a bipartisan lobby group to assist, is basically to help the crypto and blockchain community in getting their message across to them that they need support, and for obviously to help them drive adoption. We need to have it on a mass scale. We need to have crypto friendly laws. We need to have education that helps the populace, the average Joe, in layman terms, from a young child to a grandpa, understand what crypto is and how to navigate that space, and what blockchain is and what impact that will have in our lives. So they really want to shift the culture. They really want to drive adoption. They really want to demonstrate value. So they're coming up together to go and lobby Washington. And that's actually an interesting development there. And and again, they're also going to be targeting and lobbying with raising issues with Congress, with the IRS as well, SEC, and other agencies that have interest or relations to cryptocurrencies. So that's another development as well. And they're seeking support from US lawmakers regarding that. And I think, I think it's important in a way, because it sort of helps to have more recognition and more awareness of the space. But again, the idea of government, even if they're right laws, I'm thinking that the fact that this is another way that they can come in and monitor and track and control, and it's another form of power that we're giving them back. I just, I think, is it realistic to want some systems to go hand in hand, or completely separate blockchain space, crypto space, away from how traditionally how it's done? Is it realistic to think that? Is it too much to think that? I think where we are right now, we can't. I don't see how we can keep governments or big players out of them. It's too late, in my opinion. It's too late. They're already here. Now the question then becomes, to what extent will their power go? Will their power increase? Will their reach? Will how much of that will they have power to dictate? So that, and how much of us, like, even if there's still a group of a large section of society that's still not educated in this space. So if they take the government's lead on this, if they take big powerful players, the elites lead on this, if mainstream media is on their side and not on the people's side, then that could spell a bit of trouble, because we would then have a situation where they would come into the space, and you would have the true believers of crypto and blockchain trying to advocate a certain way of how it's really done, and their power and control would be not I wouldn't want to say diminished, but because we don't know how this will turn out. But if we have the majority of the populace coming into the space with the having that mindset that the government will be here in this space to protect them, to help them profit, and whatever they feel will help them in some way, shape, or form by having a centralized player in this space, then it's really like nothing has changed, except it's more, perhaps we've given it a different name. But we want to reduce their power and influence in this space, and increase our power and our influence and our voices in this space. That's really what we want, not giving financial advice or telling you how to think, but that's really the ethos, the idea, the mindset that the true believers in cryptos and blockchain technology do have. They want the idea of power and control being distributed, and that this is something that will incentivize and make the system more efficient, and get away and try and prevent situation from like what happened with 2008 with the financial collapse to happen. So that's why this is something that is there's this tug of war. There's this tug of war going on right now. It's still early days, but there's this amazing, incredible tug of war, and some of us don't even realize it. So and some of us still want the comforts of the centralized world, but want the profitability. We want the advantages of this new decentralized space. So it is a battle of philosophies in a way. So yeah, that's Ripple. That's Ripple. And another thing is, you'd think that the USA, with all of these technology companies, they have the largest financial markets in the world, but the government is actually being compared to other governments. They're being quite slow to create that regulatory framework for cryptos to develop and so on. But yeah. They're now, Ripple with this team are trying to focus on making US a country viable for blockchain and crypto investment. And so that's in fact, I want to put a comparison to Singapore and Hong Kong. Hong Kong actually changed the immigration law to attract talented blockchain developers. That's how serious they were. That's how powerful they see this industry move. And Singapore in particular has got a great reputation for being a modern city, a clean city, and technologically advanced. So for them to also have that outlook in this space is quite powerful, and a role model, a great example. So yeah, that's Ripple. And one more thing, I do have some interest in development, because I'm sure at some point you've all used Walmart. So I'm not sure if you heard of this news, but they announced there's going to be a mandatory blockchain for using fresh fruits and vegetables for leafy green suppliers, and also Sam's Club as well. So basically, they will require, as of next year, I believe, 2019, they will require suppliers of these leafy greens to implement a farm to store tracking system based on blockchain, and that they will introduce a traceability systems for other fresh fruit and veg providers within the next year, and that they're requiring over 100 of these companies to implement the IBM blockchain service. And what the reason why that's important is because there was an E. coli outbreak. There was actually poisoning, which infected over 200 people, and 5 people died earlier this year because of that. And what was interesting to know is that they did a test. Obviously, they don't just go in without no notice. They did a test, right? A traceability test with sliced mangoes, and they asked the team to track it. It took them nearly 7 days. 7 days, as the method of the tracking was old-fashioned. It was sometimes done with a pencil and paper, but with blockchain technology, they found that process only took 2.2 seconds. So 7 days, 2.2 seconds. Which one would you choose if you're a company as large as Walmart? So again, this is in real world use case. This has been proven time and time again. Blockchain technology has is undisputed for bringing certain advantages that current systems don't have. So it's a, you know, it's an you're not losing. So that is quite important in terms on the health aspect of it, the economic aspect of it, even on the political aspect with it as well. And society, if there's systems in place, and in fact, if you have other supermarkets, because they're seeing what Walmart is doing, if they then implement that, it's actually going to be great for everyone. So Aking, are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here. I'm just listening to you.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
It's splendid.
Do you buy some vegetables from Walmart or Walgreens
I don't shop at Walmart.
Okay, like whoever.
I will shop at the Whole Foods market.
Yay! Now you're talking. We have that in London too. So yeah, we have
Whole Foods in London.
Whole Foods. Yeah, we have Whole Foods here too. We don't have Sam's Club, but we do have Costco has come over as well. So
do y'all have a Sprout in London?
Sprout.
I thought y'all had Sprout.
We have we have can I say this? We have aubergines, which in American the way they say it is eggplant.
Oh, give them the full story, Asmeret. Don't just give them part of it. Give them the full story. Where do you go to get your aubergines?
So guys, I was having a conversation with Aking one time. I said, you know, I'll catch you. I need to speak to you later. I've got to go with my sister to pick up some aubergines from central London.
Why are you laughing?
And he laughed so hard. And he said, what's aubergines? I said, we call it aubergines. I guess you guys call it eggplant. And I said to him, but why do you call it eggplant? It's got no relation to egg. I know it's a plant, but why would you call it eggplant? And he said to me, but why would you call it aubergines? It's a French word. It's a French word because the British, in the English language, they use a lot of French and German words in there. No idea why they liked calling it eggplant aubergines, but hey, there you go.
When you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous to call it an eggplant, though. But
yeah, I don't know. It is. Like, even the shape of it, even the color. Like, what has it got to do with eggs or egg? Or it's a plant, but where did that come from? Someone educate me on that. Or maybe I need to Google that. But we call it aubergine here.
Yeah, that'd be a fun fact. We could take a look into that, the eggplant versus aubergine debate. How do you say aubergine or aubergine? Is there an R in there?
Aubergine.
Aubergine.
You say it the French way. No R. You don't pronounce R. Aubergine.
Aubergine. Central London for my aubergine.
But anyway, show us. Sorry.
I'm pulling up the chart right now while we're chatting. Do you eat eggplants a lot?
I a lot. I just have it like maybe once every 2 weeks or maybe once every 10 days because I'm a vegetarian, guys. So I like to bake it. I like to season it, and it rocks. So if you guys like aubergines or eggplants, let me know as well. But yeah, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm gonna pull up the chart. So let's get a vote. Should eggplants be called eggplants or aubergines? whatever the group decides. Because we have this we had a debate about eggplant or aubergine.
Mm,
All right, so I'm about to pull up the chart. Let's see.
no problem. Don't you think it rolls off the tongue easier?
Aubergine. I do like aubergine. I can't say that I have a problem with aubergine.
Okay.
Right, 1 second.
What's going on in the market?
All right, so taking a look at Bitcoin, we're still in this descending triangle. I see Bitcoin has started working its way on this. I don't want to call it a bull flag, but or a bull channel, but it's been in a bullish channel for the last couple of days. This is the daily chart, by the way, guys. So you can notice we've been ranging to the top and the highs and the low of this channel. So typically what I'm looking for in this is potentially more ranging towards the upside, because right now we're obviously pushing down. We're right at 65, 60. So I can see us pushing down a little bit more, pushing back up, maybe getting back up to the $6,800, even $6,900 range. But I'm wanting to see what price happens when we get back to this major red downtrend. That's what I'm looking for right here. And it's not perfect, but this is the slope that I'm looking at on Bitcoin. So I see that we could just drop down right here and retest the lows again. That's perfectly normal. But I want to see if we kind of push up a little bit further up higher, get into that $6,600, $6,800 range again, 7,000 even, and see what happens there. But nothing has really happened with Bitcoin. I don't, I wish that was something really exciting to speak about. But ever since that major drop that we had, was that middle of September, at that major drop, we've been bouncing, but nothing's really happened. So a retracement back to 0.5 or the 0.32 fib levels, that's pretty healthy. But anything under $7,000 is really bearish territory. The bears could completely allow the bulls to roam under $7,000, which is the 0.236 level. So all of that is still bearish. I mean, I wish I could share something else or speak on something else that I haven't said, but nothing has really changed. Not until we get on the bottom side of this black line or the top side of this red line, anything changed. So if to make that more relatable, if you're looking to buy Bitcoin, just know that, there's a possibility that we reject from here and come down lower. We're literally like in the middle, like in open air. It's not really a great place to take a long-term position, in my opinion. If you're long-term bullish, then every place is a good time to take a position. But for me, look at these from a technical perspective, I would just need to see a big outside of here, perfectly trade above $7,200 for me to really consider going long. I think Ripple is more interesting. Do y'all want to take a look at Ripple? Ripple has I stopped sharing. Hold on 1 second. What happened? I think Ripple gave us a little bit more to look at. 1 second here. Start thunderstorming. I hope this doesn't cut us off, Asmeret. If it does, then love this. That's all I can say.
No worries.
Man, today's a rough day for the boy. Okay. Let me try this again. 1 second, Asmeret. My internet is going crazy. I'm surprised I haven't lost you. Okay, let me try this again. 1 second. Let me pull up Ripple. I think Ripple's a pretty cool story. Hey yo, you know that song?
Finish the rest of the sentence that you were. Hey yo, what?
No, what they really want from us.
Oh.
What they want. You don't know that?
I do, but what is it? DMX.
Oh, you got it. Good job. Azzy, good job. All right,
I'm just surprised you. I'm like, look at it. It's Monday morning.
I had to quiz you. All right, so
Yeah.
here we are. Ripple, a pretty interesting story. Let me take a look at this in log scale. So, and hey, let's just chart this up. You know, why not? Yeah, let's chart it up. So with Ripple, I've seen Ripple something like this the entire time. Those are my kids in the background. So something like this with the upward channel inside of Ripple, we broke out, we kind of bounced the top of it, fell back under. Then we retested the top of this channel. Now we're here. So I kind of see Ripple like this. Let me get the highs and the lows on this thing. Pivots. Hey, Yassine, I'm on a phone call. Please be quiet. Okay. So I see it something like this right here. We'll take the most recent swing high to the most recent swing low. And you can see Ripple went to that 1.618 fib level pretty perfectly, right at that 70 cents, and kind of fell back from there. So I'm paying attention to this trend line zone on Ripple. Let me exit out of this real quick. So this is what's interesting with me in Ripple, because keep in mind, I see this as the up channel for Ripple. So at the same time, I'm looking at price action and potentially forming a double top here. So if we bounce from this trend line and work our way back up, then I see Ripple as being bullish. That trend line is right at the 50 to 53 cent range. We bounce from there, then I see Ripple going back towards the 70 cent range. If we fall from here, then I see us testing the 46. And if we fail the 46, then we're right back into, bearish territory. So Ripple, in my view, technically is still bullish, even though we've been, going sideways for the most part. Technically, it's still bullish. You can't say it's not bullish. Technically, it still is. We're in the upward channel. We're above, the 0.786 fib level. So until that changes, it's bullish. So I see Ripple's being bullish. A potential move to the upside is over here. But honestly, not to be stuck in biases, I honestly think Ripple's going to come back, though. I think Ripple's going to end up selling off, retesting this 46, bouncing back up, doing something like this, and then coming back down. So that's what I think. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, neutral, bullish on Ripple. It could just be a great pump and dump. I mean, an elaborate pump and dump. So we'll find out. What else? What else is a big thing? Ethereum. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Man, my internet is like, what happened? With Ethereum, very much. What are you laughing at, Asmeret?
Sorry, I wrote on the comments. I didn't want to say the lyrics live because I know that joint.
You do know it.
I do, yeah, and I have a story with it too, but I'm not gonna say it today because it's not age appropriate. It's not
You have a freestyle to go with it?
No, and maybe we need to do an evening version, a crypto something.
Yeah, crypto at night.
Yes. Now you're talking. Where yeah. Now I have that song in my head now, and it's gonna be there all day. Thank you.
What they really want from somebody, let me know. You don't know that. All right, so with Ethereum, I still see Ethereum the same way. Let's see. I see as this potential move right here, which hasn't completed yet. So I'm still bearish on Ethereum, guys. So this is what I see. I see a potential head and shoulders pattern possibly over here. I'm trying to give you guys an idea, not to be perfect with it. So I see a potential head and shoulders right here. That's a possibility. And then we broke down from that head and shoulders, and then we got into like this bearish pennant. Then we broke down from there. We pulled up, And I think this pull-up could actually just be a retest of the breakdown. If you take a look here, we pulled back up to about 60% of the breakdown, which is pretty healthy for a retest. And now we're selling back off. So if Ethereum was to bottom out, what I would like to see happen is for Ethereum to do something like this, is for it to come back here and form a higher low and then work its way back up. I think that would be a healthy move for it. Otherwise, if we post lower low on Ethereum, meaning we break the low, let me move this out the way, I can't even see. If we start trading below this line right here, this red line, which is about $165, I should say. If we actually start making lower lows, then yeah, Ethereum isn't done. So Ethereum will need to go lower. And then my next target on Ethereum will be right over here, right about $100, maybe 125-ish, 100 to 125. No, I like 100. That'll be my next target if we form a lower low on Ethereum. Otherwise, what I'll be looking for is a potential pull down, maybe into like the 170 to 200 range. See what happens there, and then if it bounces back up, then Ethereum has a chance. So what the levels I'll be telling to pay attention to is 160 to I'll say 160 to 200. What happens in that range? If Ethereum pulls out of here, then yeah, we could go up, back into even the 350-ish. If we form a lower low, yeah, then we're gonna have to see much lower prices. So, and this candle bar right here is actually a bearish reversal candle right here. So this could sequence into much lower price action painting. So, yeah, if you got into Ethereum early, like when it dropped way down here, great. But as far as it being long-term bullish, I'm not prepared to say that just yet. Let's take a look at what else most we're into. Litecoin, right? I'll take a look at the top ones. I actually haven't looked at Litecoin in a while. Yeah, see, Litecoin just gave us a weekly bearish reversal candle right here. So this is all very bearish price patterns. So let me break this down for you guys. So you have an engulfing bearish candle here on this weekly chart, and you had a buy up, which was about 60–70% of this candle, which is pretty healthy. And then you had a reversal bearish candle here. This is a reversal weekly bearish candle. So that could sequence into much lower weeks. So if indeed we trade anything below this low right here, I'm gonna give you guys the levels to pay attention to, that I'm gonna pay attention to rather. Right here, that low at $48, let's just say $50. If we start trading below $50 again, then my next target on Litecoin will probably be right around here in this area, right around the $30, 25 to $30. That'll be the area I'll be looking for. That's a ugly line. So yeah, so that'd be like the area I'd be looking for, somewhere around here. But honestly, it could go a lot further, even down into the single digits for Litecoin. This is a pretty big area of resistance right here as well. And we're getting a bearish spinning top. So that right there kind of gives me a bias that we're going lower in prices versus than higher. If I was to take a look at Fibonacci's, and I'll just take this low to this high just to kind of see where we are. We're actually trading below the 1.618. Yeah, so that's pretty scary, actually. I'm actually doing this real time with you guys. I mean, I didn't even take a look at the fibs on Litecoin. So we're actually rejecting below the point 1.618. So that's actually a really bearish indicator. Yeah, I don't know the news on Litecoin, if they're going under something, or if, with developments or lack of developments, whatever it may be. But just looking at price, to retest the low of $50 is really probable. But even a lower price could also come into play. So that's what I would just say. If we trade below 60, I would say if we trade below $70, then Litecoin is short-term bullish. If we continue to trade lower, then it's continuously bearish. If we break this $50 range, then yeah, I'm taking it down to the next level, 25 to 35 bucks. What they saying, Asmeret? You over here laughing, smiling.
Okay, so Cherry, I've been trying to contain my laughter so much. Cherry Heart Fortenberry, lovely name by the way. She says, Asmeret, what these crypto really want from Aking. Somebody let me know. read her comment. So you have to say in that DMX voice.
I'm not logged in. You gotta give me the rundown.
So she's saying replace the words with the word cryptos and then want from Aking. So what these cryptos really want from Aking, like something like that.
Somebody let me know. Hey, that was the jam back in the day, man. You can't tell me that wasn't the jam.
You know what? That's what we should do with Crypto Night, right? If there's certain dedications or guys, any particular songs, we can replace the lyrics with crypto words. That would be a fun game to have at the end of our talk or beginning or however.
Yeah, I'm gonna nominate DMX, J.A.R.V.i.Z. I'm gonna nominate J.A.R.V.i. I forgot about J.A.R.V.i.
Ooh, J.A.R.V.i. Coming over my place or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. J.A.R.V.i. is yeah. I don't know if he was in the news recently or whatever. He looks so different from how he was before, but anyway. J.A.R.V.i.'s a good one. I was gonna say D'Angelo as well.
I'm not sure what happened. I got disconnected for a second, but yeah, this was fun. This was fun. My kids are back here having the times of their life now. I guess they're feeling better. But yeah, let's do this again, Crypto Azzy. Maybe we'll set up a crypto night and we could really turn up.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great week.
Later.
Take care.